Hey, what's good, everybody? It's me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, and you're watching Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Joining me, as always, is my co-host from the Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks podcast, Rebellious D. D, how are you doing today?
I'm doing swell.
Hey, it's good to see you, man. And
Good to see
we're
you too.
down a man. D,
It's okay.
usually,
okay.
you're the one. You're traveling through time.
I'm the third man.
You're the third man. But Trav, he had to hop in the helicopter, and he's passed on to take care of. So, Trav, we hope that we see you back soon, and whatever it is that you're doing, make sure that you're staying safe, and make sure that if you need us, be like Vin Diesel and call on us, and we'll be like family. We'll be there in the snap of fingers.
All right.
Like, for real, I thought this was Trav messaging me right now. It's like I mentioned Trav's name and he sneezed.
You got the chair pulled out. Is Trav Skyline about to pull up at the end of the movie?
Bro, Trav gonna open up the door. He gonna be like, "Banks, I'm here." I'm like, "Yo." But joining us today is somebody that is a really awesome person, really nice. I got a chance to talk with him before we started doing this interview, and he put a big smile on me, Benjamin Banks' face, and that is voice actor Kevin Andrew Rivera. Kevin, how are you doing today?
Hello, I am doing quite well. This is my natural speaking voice.
Hell yeah.
I like it, man.
Sound like a bad guy from Johnny Quest.
I mean, honestly, I've been training for that for my whole life, so someday I'll do a Johnny Quest character.
Hell yeah.
Hey, that would be all. It's crazy, man, because me and D was literally just talking about Johnny Quest the other day. So it's awesome. But yeah, Kevin, I just want to let you know, man, when I was putting the slideshow together, I love when we have guests and like they have like the 3 abbreviations for their name, Kevin Andrew Rivera. And me being a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure fan, and part 2 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, you have the main villain whose name is Car. And I was just like, Car. The only thing you're missing is an F,
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I had one of my sisters, I texted her like, "Oh, like, yeah, check it out. Like, this is my website and whatever." And she was just like, "Car, vroom vroom." And I was like, "Oh, that's perfect, vroom vroom."
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like a car. I see. I started saying that to one of my agents, and now they're like jokingly emailing me back, going, "Hey, thanks for the audition, Car." And I'm like, here we go. I'm gonna make this a thing. That's awesome.
Hey, the only thing you're missing on your website is the song that "Life Is a Highway." That's all you.
That's actually a perfect idea. I still want to do that.
But yeah, before we get into today's interview, because it's going to be a fun one, everybody that's watching, make sure that you like this video, you subscribe to the channel, and you hit that bell button so that way you're always notified when we have new content here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. And D, like you say every time,
thank you all for watching. Like, follow, subscribe to the channel, and here we go.
And if Trav was here, he has his tip of the day. And I'll take care of it this time. Whenever you get inside of a car, always make sure that you fasten your seatbelts, because whoever is driving is going to take you for a ride. Hit the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 music.
Hey. And I'm Car, so I will take you on a ride. I'll see myself out.
Hell yeah.
And that's the end of the interview. But
so long, everybody.
So the first question I ask every guest that we have up here.
Wait a minute. I already know the origin story, right?
Somebody been doing their research.
Yeah, buddy.
Nani?
For all the listeners out there, I have been stalking Benjamin Banks' podcast for like the whole month and a half at this point. And so like as soon as we hopped on Zoom today, I was like, "Oh my God, you're Benjamin Banks! You're like a celebrity, man!" And I've just been, every time I hear you say all these sentences you're saying today, I'm like, "That's what he said on this episode. That's so cool." Like a total.
He's been studying footage.
It's crazy because before the interview, I told Kevin, I was just like, yeah, it's like, you just level up. And Kevin was like, he said the word. He said it.
He said the thing. Let's level up, dog.
Yeah. Cue the music.
Cue the music. If there was music to level up right now, that would be hilarious.
That'd be pretty funny.
Hey, no, it's the Sierra song, Level Up. That's
this guy.
But no, go ahead, Kevin. The floor is yours.
So my origin story for all you people listening. Well, hello. My name is Kevin Andrew Rivera. For me, it started when back in the olden days, I was, I think, like 3 or 4 years old. I have 3 siblings: older brother, older sister, younger sister. And my older brother decided to show me and the rest of my siblings Pokemon. We went to Blockbuster because you know how ancient that place is nowadays.
It's only one love.
Oh man, in Colorado, right? I think.
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh,
I think that one's going out of business too. But I'll double check on it.
Save Blockbuster, guys.
Hell yeah.
But no, my brother, he was like, yeah, like, let's ask Mom if we can go to Blockbuster, and we're going to go rent Pokemon. And so we started watching Pokemon, and I instantly became, like, the biggest fan of it. And as soon as I watched Pokemon, I kind of dipped into more anime. And, you know, I think, like, most people from the 90s, or growing up in the 90s would say, like, Dragon Ball Z was, like, one of the biggest things from my childhood, at least. And I loved it. Watched every single episode. I've watched Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Z Kai, GT, Super, you know, like all the movies. It's been great. And I guess growing up with my siblings, we just loved anime and cartoons and other stuff like that. And eventually my brother was so inspired by cartoons that he wanted to become an animator. And he was like, man, like, I need voices for my animations. And I was like, I'll do it. And so my brother got me to do some animations for him. And, you know, I just kept on practicing all these voices that I was working on and copying the ones from Cartoon Network, like Cow and Chicken and Chowder and, you know, Dexter's Laboratory and stuff like that. Until eventually my brother even got me to try animation for a little bit. And so I was like, man, like, the creative arts is so freaking cool and so fun. And eventually, my sister, who was also like really inspired by the creative arts, was like, I want to go and do theater. And so when she was in, I believe, 8th grade, she did The King and I, and she played one of the princesses. And I went to see the show, and I was all like, oh man, like, this looks really cool. Like, you get to like perform in front of an audience, and like you get to sing songs and like just be somebody completely different from yourself. Like, that looks so awesome. I want to do that. And then the next year I joined the drama club when I hit like 7th grade, and then 8th grade and high school and onwards, until eventually I decided I wanted to be an actor for college, and I wanted to get a degree in acting. So I went to the University of Connecticut and got my acting degree. And during those 4 years, I felt like college was a lot of that kind of thing where it's like, oh, you're here to be an actor, right? Well, what kind of actor? And you're like, oh, I never thought about that. I just thought about getting a degree. That's crazy. And, you know, halfway through college, there was like this epiphany that hit me. And it was the fact that, like, you know, for the longest time growing up, like, I'd been watching anime and cartoons and playing video games with my brother and watching him do his animations and do stuff like that. And I was like, man, like, why didn't I ever think about the idea of doing voiceover? That would be really cool to use that for my degree. And so I talked to one of my professors. Shout out to David Allen Stern if he ever listens to this. Oh, that'd be great. And he gave me, or he found me an opportunity to audition for something, and then I booked it. And I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do forever. Oh man, this is awesome. And so yeah, I mean, then I took the last 2 years of college, got as much practice in for voiceover as I could, try to learn as much as I could about technique with mic techniques and what kind of microphones are the best microphones, and you know, what's trending in the industry right now and what's happening out there before I leave college. And then I took a whole year off after school ended to save some money. And I knew that the West Coast was like, you know, it's the motherland of voiceover. You know, granted, you can do voiceover anywhere, but I knew that for me in my heart, I really wanted to be in LA. So I took that time to save up money, and I moved to the West Coast. And, you know, ever since I've been out here, I've been taking a bunch of classes still, which always shocks people whenever I tell people that, because a lot of friends from college as well are like, you're going back to school to learn more? And I'm like, well, yeah, like, you know, I don't think you should stop learning.
Exactly.
You know?
That's true. That's true.
Always a student, always a teacher.
Always a student, there's always a teacher. Exactly. Yes. And I 100% still think that to this day, because I still take classes. I'm taking a class later this weekend, and so I'm, you know, really excited about that. Like, it's it never stops. You keep wanting to learn, and one of the other really fun things about that has been getting the chance to meet other voice actors who are on the same boat as you and who all want to like flourish and have this excitement and this positive energy in them, which I always think is like the best thing you could do when you're trying to get into this type of industry, is like having a positive outlook on life, being excited about what you're doing. And something I said to Ben earlier today was there's this quote from Mark Hamill that he says, if you want to be an actor, go out and do it. And if you're crazy enough to keep doing it, then you've got yourself a job. It was something along the lines of that. But that always sticks to me. And so I'm like, am I crazy enough to do this? Yes! And so, the rest is history. I've been out here now since 2017. It's been about 5 years now. And that is my origin story for you.
Hey, that was an awesome origin story.
Well done.
You're welcome. And like, there's a lot of stuff that I want to piggyback off of from your origin story. The first thing I wanted to say was, talking about getting into voice acting and, going to the classes and whatnot. I can say that, because I've gone to some voice acting classes as well. With one of our former guests, Matthew David Rudd, who has classes that he teaches, and he's a really awesome teacher. Like, I'll always, give him his flowers, because it's just like when you're in his class, and Kevin, I don't know if it's the same in every class that you take, but it's just like the teaching, it's just so we're not going to move forward until you get this line down packed. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's one of the things, is because, like you said, everybody is just so nice and they're so supportive and whatnot. And like, that's how I felt when I was in the class. It's just like, we would read our lines, and then like people would send you messages like, hey, you did this well, like maybe you should work on this. And I'm just like, that's really awesome. And, I just want to say that, when you look at voice acting back in the 90s, and it just kind of felt like it was like a click. It's like you didn't know how to get into it. The same thing can be said about professional wrestling. Like, back in the day, it's just like, I wanted to be a wrestler, but I didn't know where or how to even, get into a wrestling school. And when you would go look online, like, it would say, oh, you got to go to California, or you have to go to Texas. And I'm 13 years old. My mom, you know what I'm saying? My mom's not going to send me somewhere, across the world to, get into wrestling school and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah. So it's really awesome that, with voice acting classes now, you can find the easy way to get into it. On Twitter, everybody's so supportive. You can talk to voice actors and stuff like that. And, like, that's just the one thing I love. And then something else to piggyback off of what you said too, about always taking classes and always learning. Like, I've been wrestling for 10 years now, and I still go to wrestling practice, because it's just like, you never know. Like, it might be something small that you might have been doing wrong. And it's just like, oh, okay, like, this is how I should be doing it. Like, somebody might see something, and it's like, you're always learning. You never stop learning. One thing we always say in wrestling is, when you stop being nervous before you go out to the ring, then you might as well just go ahead and put the boots away, because this is like, you should always be nervous, because you never know what's going to happen when you go out to that ring. You don't know how the crowd is going to react. And that's why I love being a professional wrestler. Oh yeah.
No, there's a magic to it when you get to do the things that you love, and like, when it stops feeling like you have to be put under a microscope every day. Like, there's no pressure. Like, this is just something that flows with you now. Like, it's a part of who you are, and I feel like that just helps you breathe so much better, and helps you just have more fun, I guess. That's, going back to the classes thing, like, one of my favorite things is when the teachers are like, they love it just as much as you want to love it. And so when they love it just as much as you do, like, you just have such a good time. Usually the classes last like 2 hours, 3 hours at most, maybe 4. But it flies by, because, you don't think about it. You're just in the middle of watching someone else be just as curious about what they're trying to learn as you are. And I do love that type of situation that you get yourself in. Also, a lot of classes are on Zoom now. So that's... It's like open to everybody now, and that's awesome as well. When I first moved out here, a lot of classes had to be in person, and so at the time it was really difficult to find a bunch of classes. Now I'm at a point where, like, I put together my own PDF of like every single class online that I could sign up for. And so if I'm like, oh, I'm itching to learn something new today, I go to that PDF now and I just find each website and each link and I just try to see if any classes are available.
Yeah.
Because again, you know, it's also not just about learning more stuff, but also you get to meet more people, and it's, you know,
exposure.
You get exposure, you grow this community that you're part of, that you love so much, and when you see other people loving it just as much as you do, it really pushes you through, and it makes you realize, like, you're really not alone. Like, you're not the only one going through these situations. Everybody else is going through it as well. I think the pandemic took a toll on all of us as well. Except for Michael, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, Mike. Except for Michael.
But yeah, I mean, it's a super exciting time to be alive right now as a voice actor, because you know, like you said, Ben, earlier, back in the 90s, if people tried to become a voice actor at that time, it's not at all the same as it was now. Like, now there's just so many more outlets.
Well, we've had a few guests, especially some of our older guests, you know, talk about the fact that they auditioned and they found ads in the newspaper back then. Could you imagine how hard it is back then in the 90s, especially, or 80s, I guess, like, to come across a voice acting ad in a newspaper? Wow. You literally, I mean, you know, what are the odds of you actually finding that and be like, let me go check this out? Whereas now technology rules the world. And it's like, there's exposure to everything, you know? So it's just, exactly. A dying breed is what it is. But Kevin, I wanted to ask you questions since we're here. If you had 2 tips to give anybody looking to get into voice acting, what would you tell them?
2 tips.
2 tips. That's right. One's too easy. I've got you now.
One thing I would do is I would research. I think the first obvious one is take classes, because you want to take classes. But let me say this.
Yes.
Instead of taking group classes, try to take one-on-one classes.
Interesting.
Because the first thing you should really focus on out of everything is, who are you? What is your voice? What can you sell? And when you have a one-on-one situation with a coach who you trust really, like, a ton, you trust them to be honest with you and tell you what you can bring to the table and how we can push you forward to be even better than what you are already. How can you push plus ultra?
That's it.
You guys got it. But yeah, I think that's definitely advice number 1, is take one-on-one classes with a coach so that you can just hyper focus on your skills, get that up as much as you can. Tip number 2 would be, let me think here. Oh, okay. Tip number 2, I would say, is now that you know what your voice can do and what you can bring to the table, you should go online and look up every single voice actor that you feel can do the things that you can do. And you see what they're selling, and then you check out their websites. Check out their social media. How do they handle themselves on social media? How do they handle themselves on their website? What do they put on their website? What are they selling? How are they selling it? What types of demos do they have and why? What agencies are they with? When you can start doing more research on the people around you, you can celebrate them and also learn from them. And I think it's a beautiful thing that we have that opportunity to do that now more than ever. Again, going back to the 90s, I'm pretty sure not as many voice actors had the ability to do that second part, you know?
Internet. For sure.
Nobody knew what the internet was.
Technology. I mean, it's just imagine auditioning for things through a newspaper. You know what I'm saying? That is wild how far it's come.
And I feel like that's just one of those things, because like when we interviewed Linda Young, whose interview you can either watch here on YouTube or listen to it on the podcast, and she was one of the people that had told us about the newspaper thing. I feel like it just depends on what area you were living in, because like we're here in Virginia, I doubt that we would see at the time you would see a newspaper article saying, hey, come to Texas to do this audition for Frieza and Dragon Ball Z. You know what I'm saying? It's
just imagine, hey, for voice acting lessons, call this number. People will probably be like, what?
No, people would do it. Because look, bro, back in the 90s, when you would watch wrestling and like it'd be like, call this number to talk to
wow. And, throwback.
So look, right. Huge gamer. I mean, I'm still a huge gamer now. I just don't play as much anymore. But back in the day, I can't remember which video game magazine it was, but there was a Sega Genesis hotline, and I called the Sega Genesis hotline, and I remember like my mom, like she whooped my ass because she showed me the bill, and like I spent $200 on the Sega Genesis hotline, just talking with them, asking them about cheat codes. And I was just like, well, I already know this cheat code. Like, is there anything else you can tell me and all this stuff? And then you could talk to Sonic the Hedgehog, but you weren't really talking to him. It was like an automated machine. And so people...
At least you were doing it for like the right thing, right? For your video games. I was so dumb when I was little. I remember when the DS first came out, I went on the internet and I looked up free DS to try to see if I can get a free DS.
Oh,
and
no.
It was like, enter all your phone number and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
I was still a kid, so I didn't have an email or anything, and I didn't have a phone number, so I was
good.
Oh, my dad's cell phone number would work.
Oh, no.
I'm convinced to this day that my dad still gets spam calls because of my DS situation. And he never stops reminding me, man. I'll
Click one to claim your new Fire Emblem. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, you know,
imagine.
It's just wild because it's just like, you know, looking at your bio, this isn't the first time that you freak your parents out, because when you were a kid, you know, I have my crazy story, but you know, when you were a kid, you used to leave your parents and go, you know, to the video game stores and the malls and whatnot. I remember when I was a kid, my brother, he was just born, and my mom lost me in the mall. Like, they had security looking for me, like nobody could find me and whatnot. And then she was just like, I think I know where he is. And then she went to the pet store, and I was sitting on the ground playing with rabbits in the pet store.
Aww.
And of course I got my ass whooped. Yeah, I mean, you know, I feel like you have to get your ass whooped because it made me into the Benjamin Banks that I am today. You know what I'm saying? But
that's right.
It's
gotta
just
catch some L's.
It's just wild. Like, she had the entire mall looking for me. And it's like, Kev, I can only imagine, you know, you're wandering around trying to find the video game stores, the EB game, a GameStop, and
every time I'm the little kid that gets the Mrs. Rivera, your son is at the register right now kind of guy. Every single time my mom would take me to the grocery store, like there was a point where she was like, I can't take you to Walmart today. And I'm like, well, why? I want to see the video games. Because you're literally gonna run away and hide in the clothes. Like, why would you do that? I would go to the clothing section. I would pretend that the clothing section was like a fort. And so I would chill in there, not knowing that there could be creepy guys and adults that would be like, hey, come here, little boy, you know, but like, I thought it was fun. And also, I will admit, I did like to see my mom panic because I thought it was really funny at the time.
Jesus.
Now, 28-year-old Kevin is like, no, Mom, I love you. Please don't be mad. I don't want to make you feel bad about anything. But yes, I was definitely this little daredevil kid when my mom would take me anywhere. She couldn't even take me to church because I'd be the one kid playing on the Tamagotchi.
Oh, no.
Hell yeah.
I wish I could have done that, man. Like, yeah, I wasn't allowed to take any video games in the church. The Game Boy Color at the time, I couldn't take that. Then it's just like nowadays, it's just like parents, they let their kids take their video games.
Technology rules the world, man.
So that way that they won't be making noise and everything through the whole entire service.
Listen, kids nowadays, they got it good. I sound so old saying this right now. Like, do you guys remember like when we had Game Boy Advances and there was no like bright color, like bright light that would
there's no light for the night.
There was no
You
light.
had to get like the adjustable pieces that would like, connect, but then it would run out of battery separate from the Game Boy. So you're like, now I gotta get double AA batteries.
Yep.
Oh man. And then your mom gets mad at you because she's like, are you taking the controls batteries? What are you doing? That's for the TV.
I do remember that.
Man,
good times.
I feel like I was the only person that had a Game Gear, and like the Game Gear used to just eat the batteries like that. And
what the heck's a Game Gear? Wait.
See, the game.
Yeah, okay, now I'm aging you.
Okay, so the Game Gear was, and I feel like this is a history lesson because it's just like some of our younger listeners, they might not know what a Game Gear is either, but a Game Gear was a Sega Genesis Mini, pretty much. Like Nintendo had the Game Boy. Sega, they came out with the Game Gear, but with Nintendo, I think the Game Boy only took, I think it was either 2 batteries or was it 4? I can't remember.
I think it was 4.
Okay, well, the Game Gear,
the color took less, I think, than the original. You know, the clunky one took more, I think.
Okay,
the bigger one.
Yeah, so the color probably took 2 batteries, but
the color probably took 2.
but the Game Gear took 6 batteries, and like
Jesus.
it wouldn't last that long. That's what she said. But yeah, no, it's wild. But it was a system ahead of its time. It had a backlight in it. It like all of the games were in color, and then you could also hook up like the like a TV antenna. There was an accessory that came with it, and you could watch TV on it. So when you were out on those long road trips, I mean, it was ahead of its time. But like I said, those 6 batteries.
They did that for the Game Boy Advance, right? Like they had like little TV shows in a cartridge that you could plug in.
That came out later. Yeah, but I'm talking about like actually like being able to watch TV. Like of course it was just
crazy.
it was the like CBS or ABC, but at least it was better than nothing, But but Kev, I wanted to ask you, like, going back to voice acting, because it's like we snowball all the time.
I keep derailing us.
No, it's fine. But I want to ask you, like, how was it, going into your first audition and getting that role? Like, what was the audition process like? Like, were you scared? Were you nervous? Or did you know, like, hey, I'm about to go in here and kill this thing because I already got experience?
Now, do you mean first audition going into a studio or first audition period?
Like first audition, like one of your first gigs, like for a video game. Like, yeah.
Let me see. Well, when I first started, I was actually one of those guys that did the pay-to-play sites. And I know there's a lot of voice actors that are like, don't do pay-to-play sites. But I personally think that it's okay to do them, especially when you start out, because where else are you going to get the experience and the practice,
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to spend a little bit of money so that you can make it back and, just keep getting that resume built before you can talk to an agent or, stretch out however else you want to, work your career. But one of the first things that I booked, commercial-wise and video game-wise, commercial was my first thing I booked professionally. I was in my apartment in an open closet, and I just had like shirts covering all the walls, and I had like a Blue Yeti microphone, and so I was like, okay, this is the beginning. Like I'm gonna book this, and it's gonna be awesome. And I got it, and it was this commercial about like getting glasses. And I think I did the voice of this dude who, like, he looked like this really big bloke that for some reason in my mind he has a British accent. And I remember I did the voice for the commercial, and I was thinking like, man, my voice doesn't fit that guy at all. That's crazy. But either way, it was still good experience. They didn't really ask for a callback. It was more of like you auditioned through voices. The client responded and said, hey, we like it. Can you have this back to us by this day? And you're like, okay. And then you record on your own time, which personally, as a first timer doing that, was really relieving, because it was so nerve-wracking thinking about going on a live session with a director at the time, because you're like, I don't know, what if I say the wrong thing, But ended up being good. Sent out the work, and then heard my commercial later, and I was like, that's it, I've made it, I am now a voice actor. But referring to video games, I think I can bring up, I played Dante in Marvel Superhero Academy. That was my first video game role, and nice. That was a live session still in my old apartment that I first lived in when I moved out here. And I still had all the shirts up and my Blue Yeti microphone. And I remember I turned on Skype or Zoom or whatever I had, and the clients were on the other end. And I learned beforehand that apparently, quote unquote, if you eat bananas before you do your session, you don't feel as anxious anymore. And I was like, okay, well, this better work. And I ate all my bananas. And little did I know that bananas make me burp. And so I went into this session. And so I'm in this session, and the guys are like, hey, all right, we're here. We're ready to go. I'm listening to your space, Kev, and yeah, it sounds really good. And I'm like, okay, good, because they're literally just T-shirts. This is great. And the moment I start talking, and I was like, thanks, man, I appreciate it. I just start burping. And I'm like, oh, no. It's more of those, like, internal battles you're having with yourself of, like, they're going to figure out that I'm a phony. Oh, my God. And they were like, at the end, like, halfway through the session, towards the end, they were just laughing at the burps. And I was like, well, yeah, let's make light of it. Yeah, burps are cool, right, guys? And, session ended, and looking back now, like, I laughed so hard at this, but at the time, when I finished that session, I remember I went to my room, and I was like, I'm a failure. That was so embarrassing. I can't believe I did that. But, you just keep working. You just keep on doing the next job, and you stop worrying about those little things, and don't take yourself so seriously, and, just enjoy the little moments, because you're only going to have this session for an hour long, maybe shorter if you go fast enough, but it's going to happen, and then it's going to end, and it's going to be over, and your life's going to keep on going.
That's it. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Kevin, since we're right here, as far as booking your first jobs and stuff like that, do you have a victory lap ritual or anything like that? Is there something that you did when you, at any point in time in your career, to celebrate?
To celebrate,
even early on, did you go to dinner at a certain place or?
Well, the first thing I do,
backflip.
Even now, definitely backflips.
Hell yeah.
And if I can't do backflips, then I'll try to do a forward roll, and those are really fun.
Yeah, they are.
But no, I whenever I finish a session, this happens even now, I get so full of adrenaline afterwards, because I'm like, yes, that was so fun. Oh my God, this is awesome. And I come out of my room, and I just bother the heck out of my roommate. And my roommate, anytime I go in and I'm like, hey, how's it going? Did you have a good day today? What's going on? They're like, oh, you must have had a good session today. I'm like, yeah, I mean, pretty much. And then the second thing I always do is, after bothering my roommate, is I go buy sushi across the street from in this grocery store I always go to.
Oh yeah,
best sushi, man. And also I'm a huge weeb as well, so sushi is my life,
Hey, sushi and ramen, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, look, I got this Naruto t-shirt on right now,
Hell yeah.
So look, so Kevin, you want to know something funny? I feel like everybody has had oodles and noodles, you know what I'm saying? Like the basic ramen that you buy. And I started watching Naruto back in, I think it was 2020.
Forever ago.
Yeah, because it's like I started watching it when I was younger, but of course you get older, life it hits you fast, and it's like you kind of stop watching certain stuff. So I watched Naruto, I binged it, then I watched Shippuden, and I was just like, man, the ramen on this show just looks so good. So I looked for ramen shops here in our area, and it was like when I had the authentic ramen, I never went back to the cheap ramen again, man. It's just
it's huge difference.
Yeah.
One of my hobbies right now that I've been trying to start up more and more is I live in the Valley in LA right now, and I made it a goal to find every single ramen shop in the Valley.
Nice.
And I wanted to go to every single one and rate them on my little list, my little Kevin list. And the day somebody comes up to me and they go, hey, Kevin, I really want some ramen. Do you have any recommendations? I'm going to be that guy that's like, oh, let me check my list.
As a matter of fact, I do.
I have such a list. It's literally the best excuse also to tell a friend hey, we're going to hang out. Let's go eat some ramen. And they're like, okay, I like ramen. Heck yeah, you do. It's going to be awesome. If anybody lives in North Hollywood or, the Valley in general, I recommend NoHo Ramen. It's a great place. Check it out. Or if you're going to visit LA, go check out NoHo Ramen. Good ramen on my books. I've gotten to 3 or 4 already, and so I'm slowly but surely making my way through the Valley now.
So now, since we're talking about ramen, let me ask you this. What is your go-to ramen, and how spicy do you like it? Because there's a place here in Virginia Beach called Caponara Ramen, and they have a spice level of 5. The highest that I can go up to is spice level 3. But then I also tell them to bring a bottle of sriracha sauce to the table too, and I also get red peppers to put into it as well. So maybe I might be at a spice level of 5 by adding all that stuff. But yeah, it's just a spice level of 3.
Why don't you just try whatever their level 5 is?
Get some. Buy a bottle of ghost pepper sauce and then put that in.
Yeah, I could. I mean, well, it's just like I just don't want to be that guy that's like on a date or something, and then I'm like, yeah, give me level 5, and
Whoa,
I'm sitting there sweating the entire time, like I'm trying to talk to this chick. So
well,
no.
note to self: don't ever do that on a date.
Yeah, just you gotta play it cool.
Well, I mean, I
Tell
went on a
him,
date there
Kev.
before, and like I did level 3 because that's normally what I get, but I was fine, you know. But it's just like I don't want to get level 5, and it's just like I'm just sitting there just sweating the entire time.
Well, I
Don't
mean,
do
the best kind of thing you could do on a date like that, if you do eat spicy food, is you're trying to impress them and show them that you could take anything. Man, girl, if I could take on this spicy food, I can surely take on you.
That's
Let's
true.
go on a
Hey.
date.
Hey, and the
Oh,
entire
God.
time I'm in
No
that level
sweating.
5, To Be a Man is playing. To Be
The
Hell
moment-
yeah.
The moment you start sweating, you got to be like, can you excuse me for a second? I just got to use the restroom really quick. And you calmly go to the bathroom, and then when you get in there, then you're like,
Splashing water on your face.
On your
Bro,
face.
it's wild. Some of this not sushi, but I mean some sushi is hot too. But
Mhm.
yeah, but Kev, what's your go-to and what spice level do you go to?
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I adore spicy food a
Okay.
ton. I myself I'm very Hispanic, and my family I grew up on spicy food. That being said, I don't like spicy on soup or on noodles, which is very weird. That I now that I say that out loud, I've never really thought about it till now. But that being said, I'm not really that picky about what type of specific ramen I like. For me, I'm like, listen, if I just get the meat lovers, then I'm good. Like, put any chicken, beef, anything like that, I'm good to go. As long as the broth itself is like chickeny broth, then I'm happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but also the more noodles, the better, as we all say.
Yeah, you got to get the extra noodles. Yeah.
Oh
sure.
yeah. Why not? If you're
The
gonna
real
do
question is, do you guys eat them with a fork or do you eat it with
Chopsticks.
chopsticks?
Come on.
Chopsticks.
Okay,
Come
there you go.
on.
All right,
Chopsticks. You
I don't
got,
even, look. I don't even use forks at home when I make it.
yeah.
Even when I eat like sugar cubes, I got my chopsticks.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and you get that little spoon, you pick up the noodles, put it in the spoon, get a little broth up there, and just take it all to the head at one time. That's
Have
what
you
do.
guys seen the new Miss Marvel? No, I'm sorry, the She-Hulk series by any chance?
Yes, I'm enjoying it right now.
There's
I have not started.
There's a scene in that show where Jennifer Walters has chopsticks for a bag of Cheetos.
Yeah, yeah.
The thought always occurs to me that like I've never done that before. And do you guys do that by any chance?
No, I
No, but it
don't,
will
but-
keep your hands clean.
Yeah, it keeps your hands
Yes,
clean.
makes sense,
Yeah,
actually.
because I know I had saw like a story a long time ago where they said that actors do that so that way that they don't have like if they eat hot Cheetos, their fingers won't be red and stuff. It makes
Yeah.
sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah.
But
Actually,
their mouth is
weirdly
gonna
enough.
burn, you know, like when they're trying to record. It's gonna be
Ah,
Also,
yeah.
Kev, I kind of agree. I mean, me personally, I eat hot everywhere. You know, I get the hotter hot sauce at the store and stuff like that. But it's different when you're dealing with something like ramen because you really do want to take in the flavors and soups in general.
Yeah.
And if you're adding hot stuff, you do alter it a lot. It
That's
can,
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
like sriracha, for example. Yeah. So, yeah, good
Also,
point.
I'm very picky about how hot it has to be, kind of thing. Like when they first serve it, I kind of let it sit for a little bit because I'm
Yeah,
like,
you have. Mhm.
yeah, you're gonna
Yep,
burn your tongue,
smart.
and once you burn your tongue, you're not
You
gonna
ain't
get the
tasting
flavor, you know. So like,
Yep. Nope.
you gotta let it sit for a second. That's why sometimes when I bring a friend to eat ramen with me and they see me do that, they're like, "What are you doing? Like, I'm already eating my soup. Why aren't you eating? Ah, it's hot, it's hot." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"That's
Oh,
why.
yeah.
That's why
You
I'm
letting it
not eating
marinate. Gotta let it. Yeah. You
Yes.
let everything just
Flavor,
Ramen
because
be
it's
hot.
fresh. Because because I get I'm mad I can't remember what the chicken is called. I can't remember what the chicken is called when you get it at a ramen shop.
Why did my
Don't
brain
give me-
just think Shoryuken?
I'm
That's
mad I
definitely not
can't.
it.
I'm mad I
Oh,
can't remember what it's called, but anyway, it's just like they put the chicken on
Mhm.
top like after they
Yeah.
assemble everything. So it's like I like to push the chicken into the broth and everything, let it marinate for a little bit, get all the juices and whatnot, and maybe we should start a ramen podcast. Where we
I'm
just
so
we
down
just
to join
travel,
you guys on that.
we just travel the world and go to different ramen shops. But
The ramen
Um,
podcast.
Kev, I wanted to ask you another voice acting question because
Yeah, let's do
you
it.
talked about when you did your first video game role. Like, how was it when you did your first anime gig?
First anime gig. technically, I guess, do you guys count anime video games as anime?
Well, see, I mean,
guess,
it's a
by
gray area.
default.
It's a gray area, you know.
Yeah.
You kind of have to, though.
Yeah.
I guess technically the first anime video game thing I did was Shadowverse Champions Battle, but really my first anime was Orient, and I gotta tell you guys, I cried so hard when I found out that I got that. I still remember it vividly. I was driving home, and I was on the highway, and I was calling my brother, and I remember he and I were just talking on the phone, and suddenly I get the email that says, hey, like, congrats, we'd like to book you in this anime called Orient, and blah, blah, blah. And I pulled over in the middle of the highway, and I just screamed at the top of my lungs. And my brother was like, whoa, what happened? Did you crash? What happened? And I'm like, Brian, I just booked my first anime. Ah! And he's like, whoa, okay. So what do we do? What happens? And then I just broke, and I just started bawling my eyes out, because I think it was 4 years in living in LA, like me trying so hard to get to the chance to do anime at all, you know, and it meant so much to me. I'd been working so hard towards that goal, and you know, when it finally happened, I just couldn't stop crying the rest of the day.
I don't blame you.
My brother was like, you are not going to drive right now. And I'm like, no, I think I'm good. I can drive home. I'm okay. And he was like, you're not going to drive until I calm you down. So I spent like 30 more minutes on the highway before my brother was like, okay, you're good. You can drive back home. But I remember my experience going into the studio. You know, it was during COVID still. So like, you know, a lot of the time the studios were trying to not let people come into the studio because they were trying to prevent COVID. But I was at this really lucky/unlucky state at the time where there was a lot of construction happening outside my apartment. So I was like, hey guys, like, you guys mind the construction? And they're like, we don't like construction, so come on in, it's okay, you'll be like one of the only guys in here. And I was like, yes, my first experience dubbing anime is gonna be in a studio as well. So cool. And I got to work with Chris Kaysen, and you know, if anybody doesn't know who he is, he's the voice of Shu from Dragon Ball, and also Mr. Popo. And if you don't think Popo. If me crying in the highway was crazy, like, you should have seen me after I finished my session working with Chris Kaysen. I had a couple of lines here and there, and by the end of the session, it was weird. Like, I'd practiced so much, and I'd gone as far as I've come so far, that I was finally at that point of, like, you love it so much that it's not something that makes you nervous anymore. So I went in, did my thing, had a super nice blast. And then at the end, I told my director, I was like, hey, like, I just want you guys to know, like, this is my first anime, and it means a lot to me, and, like, this moment is gonna be ingrained in my brain for the rest of my life, and you guys are a part of that. And the engineer, his name's Nick, was like, oh, dude, man, okay, awesome, yeah. And then I went to my car, and then I just bawled some more, because, like, that's the goal, man.
It's a feel-good moment.
Yeah, and it was at Bang Zoom Studios, and so it was such a cool experience. And I'd known the history of this studio and what they've worked on, and just the fact that you get to be a part of anything that had to do with that studio, to me was like, I'm in heaven right now. This is awesome.
D?
Where to go now?
I mean, well, we can go.
I throw a lot at you too.
Hey, we can go into your favorite territory.
What do you mean?
Hey, because Kev, he's in a video game that you really love playing.
Yes. Say no more. Say no more, Captain. So you got to be a part of Genshin Impact.
Ah, yes.
Would you like to talk about that experience?
No.
No.
Got it. Hey, well, on to the next.
Moving on.
Yeah, moving on. So what was that like?
Oh man, well, today I think Genshin 3.0 came out.
Yes, it did. Technically, it was last night or yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an avid player, so.
But yeah, no, Genshin Impact was a bunch of fun as well. I remember the first time I got to work on it. It was was just like an outer world experience, I guess, because I personally hadn't played it at the time, but I remember having watched a bunch of my other friends play it on their own time. And Twitch streaming it and just enjoying all the videos that would come out, all the new characters that would get announced. And I got to play this character called Shinojo, who's this really sad boy who likes this girl called Chisato, and she's in love with someone else, and his heart is so broken. And I just found him so endearing and so lovable. And it was just that kind of thing where it's like you go in, you record the lines, you have fun with it, and you go home, you don't think about it. But then the updates come out and the characters are released, and suddenly you get like a flooding of people talking about these characters, and you get tagged in like a ton of stuff on Twitter and on Instagram. And I'm like, oh man, everybody likes Shinojo. That's so cool. Like that's awesome.
That's pretty sweet. Yeah,
like,
it's got to be a good feeling, right?
It's the best feeling when people love the characters that you love just as much, because you got the chance to work with these characters and become them for a little bit of time. And I think it's also really fun when you get to go on Twitter and you look up people who are talking about your character, and you kind of just like one of their comments, and they go, "Oh my God, Shinojo just like my comment. That's crazy!" And and I've done Shinojo. I've voiced Okawara. I've done Owada from the last update. Man, it's just been a lot of characters, and I think one of the fun things about Genshin is the fact that whenever you get to do NPC characters, most of the time they're gonna ask you to come back because these characters, they are continuing their storylines. You know.
You know.
In 2.9 or maybe 2.8, if I remember correctly, there is a character I played called Owada, and he was a character that you heard him say one or two lines like 3 updates ago. And so I recorded those lines and didn't think anything of it. And so when you get called back and say, "Hey, do you remember this voice you did for this character?" And then they play it back for you, you're like, I don't remember playing him, but that sounds like me. Yeah, let's do it. You just go in and you get to have fun with the character again. They refresh your mind on who the character is, and you get to go in and keep doing it. Of course, if I ever go back for a Shinojo read, I'm going to be so ecstatic because I'm always like, hoping that he's going to get the girl someday.
Gonna get the girl.
But he can't eat spicy ramen or else he won't get the girl, you know?
No, he won't.
Wait until after the first date, then get the level 5.
That's right.
But if she likes spicy ramen, that's fine too.
If she likes spicy ramen and you see that she's sweating, that's when you pull the handkerchief out of your pocket. And you
like a gentleman.
I thought you were gonna say dab her forehead for.
No, because I feel like if she sees you pull the handkerchief out, she's gonna be like, for me, like nobody's ever done that.
And then you just tuck it into your own shirt. Like, what are we eating now?
Exactly. So I want to piggyback off of something you were saying, Kev. Like when they bring you back, and I just think that it's cool with Genshin because it's like we see like some voice actors, they start off doing like, the NPCs or the side characters, and then they end up getting like an actual playable character in the game. And, one of the ongoing jokes that we always say up here is like, when people come up here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks, it's just like they end up going on to do bigger and better things in Genshin Impact.
That's right.
Or if they've never been in Genshin Impact, they end up being in Genshin
they
Impact.
Get snatched up.
Yeah, because we just interviewed Kat Pratano, whose episode that you can either listen to or you can watch here on YouTube. And it's just like, she just made an announcement like, hey, like you can hear me. The update just came. And I was just like, yo, it's because we had her up here on the podcast. You just never know what's going to happen. We give people breadsticks and then we put them in Genshin Impact. We're the gateway.
Same thing with Kieran Regan.
Kieran's another one.
Kieran, all of a sudden.
I remember talking to him recently about that, how he was like, I was working on a few NPCs here and there, and then I got Hazel, and I'm like, man, that's so freaking cool. Man, he's living it up now too. Like, good for him. Like, I'm so freaking excited to see other people.
Keep grinding, Kevin. It's
Kieran
gonna be you next.
Kieran is such a hard worker. Kieran is an extremely hard worker. Let me just say that, because since the moment he's moved out here in LA, every time he's talked to any voice actor and communicated and done his work, he's always trying to like become better even without taking classes. Like he'll text me and be like, hey, like what do you think of this audition? What do you like, do you think this is good? Like any notes on this? Hey, do you guys want to do like a little get together and like, you know, just practice dubbing, you know, do something like that? And I think that's like every time Kieran says stuff like that to me, I'm like, okay, I gotta learn more from his awesomeness, because he's inspiring me and Kat's inspiring me and everybody's inspiring. But yeah, you know, fingers crossed, man. Who knows?
Hell yeah, you never know.
Yeah, but see, but Kev, but see, you're up here on the podcast, and you just named all those other people that are inspiring you, but it's just like you're inspiring people. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just like you never know.
Great attitude.
You never know who's gonna listen to this episode or watch this episode and just be like, man, it's just like if he can do it, then I can do it too. That's what I'm saying. Like you never know, man. Like that's why you always have to stay positive. You always have to stay humble because people are always watching, and your small words, like something small that you said, it could lead somebody onto an adventure of a lifetime for them to reach out and grab their goals. So yeah, you just never know. So
say like the word pudding, you know, if you say the word pudding, someone's gonna be like,
you could trigger somebody too. Be careful.
They're gonna be like, I'm gonna be a cook now. I'm gonna be a baker. He said pudding.
Hey, you never know.
You never know.
Never know,
so
man.
Kevin, as you know, Trav, if he was here, because he's our theater guy, you know, I feel like we can't, you know, move on without asking him a couple of theater questions, because, you know, you do have a background in that. I want to ask you, out of the theater plays that you've done, like which one was one of your favorites?
One of my favorite ones was Twelfth Night. I got to play Festi the Clown in this Shakespearean play, and it's one of those things where it's like, you know, you don't know what the heck anybody's saying when you read Shakespeare for the first time, but when you get to see it happen on stage and it comes to life, it's weird to explain. It's like you're lost in translation, but for some reason you know what they're saying because of the way that the emotion and the intent comes out. And I think that was super challenging and super fun to get to do when I was in college, especially. And theater is that Shakespeare specifically is that kind of thing that like it forces you to analyze the script. You know, a lot of actors say like, "Hey, I analyze script and blah blah blah," but Shakespeare is like every single word is so specific in what it means. Plus, Shakespeare himself just had his own, like, you know, but he was wrote in the 1300s. You know, so it's kind of like that kind of thing where back then this sentence meant this, but to Americans and other people now that speak English, it doesn't mean anything because it just sounds like a weirdly phrased word or sentence. But yeah, I think Fessy the Clown for Twelfth Night, definitely one of my favorite characters to play. And and one other thing, I feel like maybe someone's already mentioned this in previous episodes, but Shakespeare makes me think of anime in a way, because I always refer to Death Note, for example. In Death Note, everybody's always internally talking about how they're feeling and, like, you know, what their next steps are and what they want to do next and what happened to them recently and whatever. Shakespeare does the exact same thing, except in their Shakespearean language. And anime always inspires me with Shakespearean vibes because, you know, it's essentially the same thing. So getting the chance to do Shakespeare was a really big help when I got the chance to work on anime stuff, because when you see characters have internal monologues, it's like, oh yeah, this is literally Shakespeare. Like, let's do that. Let's just apply your training and put it into that.
Yeah, so it's pretty much, it's like you already have a tool in the toolbox when it comes to doing voice acting and whatnot, and anime, because of Shakespeare and whatnot. So now I want to ask you, what is one of your favorite theater plays?
One of my favorite theater plays. Musicals or straight plays? Because there's a difference.
See, I wanted to say musical, but I'll let you choose.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll let you choose. You know what? Give me both. One from each category.
Okay, let's see. Musicals. My favorite musical is it's Jersey Boys. And I'll tell you why. Because when I was in middle school, I was in the chorus, and my teacher used to put me in the soprano section with all the girls. because my voice was so high up there that I just could sing all the parts that the girls could sing. And there was a part of me at that time that was like, I'm kind of embarrassed because I'm with all the girls and whatever. And then I think it was like 2-3 years later, I went to go see Jersey Boys on Broadway with a field trip or something. And I saw this character, Frankie Valli, who's a real person in real life, who sings way up there, just as high as the Sopranos and sometimes even higher. And it was such an empowering thing for me to not be ashamed of what I can do, and acknowledging what you can do, and being okay with yourself and singing and having fun and enjoying yourself. So definitely Jersey Boys, my favorite musical of all time. Also the story's good. Like, it's a very good story. Wasn't just because of my high school and 13-year-old career. But I think straight plays, I would have to say I think Much Ado About Nothing, which is another Shakespearean play. But let me think of one that's not Shakespearean. Hold on a second. Nah, I got nothing, guys. I'm sorry. That's all I can think of. I'm blanking out right now.
I just feel like if Trav was here, Trav would be like, classic.
Yep.
Yeah, man. But yeah, thank you for answering those questions. And Trav, I hope that you appreciated me, asking Kev for you, because I know if I didn't, then you would feel some type of way. So my final question for you, then I'll pass the ball to D, is Kev, you already told us that you like to go on ramen field trips, and you like to get sushi and whatnot, and you talked about video games and all this other stuff. What are some of your hobbies that you're into when you're not behind the microphone?
Oh man, that's like a loaded question for me. Well, okay, so when I'm not going for ramen and I'm not playing video games, I really like collecting memorabilia.
Ooh.
Specifically Dragon Ball memorabilia.
Nice.
I have like this glass casing in my room just like filled with like Dragon Ball statues, and like occasionally I'll get like One Piece and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and
good
stuff like that. And
you got us both.
I'm trying to collect,
did that on purpose, I bet.
Yeah.
I was about to ask.
That's very specific.
Well, which one do you like more, JoJo or One Piece?
Choose
you
wisely.
You can't make me choose.
He knows. Yeah, thank you for knowing.
I like
Kev.
all my children equally, is what my mom says.
Kev's was like, no, I'm not falling for this.
You know, funny enough, my dad. But when I was a kid, I used to ask my dad, like, Dad, which one of your kids is your favorite?
Oh,
my dad.
Jesus.
No, listen to this. This is what my dad would always say. He goes, your brother's my favorite today because he helped me with the garage. And I'm like, oh, okay. So as long as we help you with stuff, that's when we're your favorite.
What a smart dad.
Yeah. So then the next day he'd be like, your little sister's my favorite because she went with me to get some gas. He's just finding any excuse he can get to not have to tell us for real.
Hell yeah.
But also, I was gonna mention that I also try to collect Gundam memorabilia stuff too.
Hey!
I see, Ben, behind you. You got the burning Gundam.
Burning Gundam. Hey, the burning finger. Oh
dude,
my God.
I used to quote that to everybody.
Me too, bro. Oh,
everybody.
His hand is shining red.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh my
I've
God.
actually been looking for that burning Gundam statue for ages, and so the day I find it, I'm gonna buy it so fast.
Wow, if I see it, if I go to a store, like I found that in the Barnes and Noble, and like as soon as I saw it, I was just like, I gotta get it. You know what I'm saying? Because I like my favorite Gundams are the Burning Gundam and the Gundam Death Sight Hail, and of course the Wing Zero. But
Death Sight?
Yeah, I still have to build it. D's been getting on me for
yeah, I have
always
heavy arms
asking
right
me like,
above me.
yeah, when are you getting the modeling kit? And I'm just like, I don't have time, man. I'll get to it eventually.
I told him I'd build it for him.
I gotta build it myself.
Hang on, I actually can show you. This is the next one I'm building right here. Maxter.
What?
Yeah.
Huh?
Oh my God.
Gundam Maxter.
Oh, I see you got all the Gundams back there too.
Yeah, I have
heavy on.
Dude, you got so much back there.
We're kind of into cosplay stuff now, so I'm working on costumes and stuff like that. So
oh man,
I'll build it one day, and it's gonna be amazing, and I'm probably gonna look it up and watch the show. Jiminy Crockett.
I'm watching it right now. I mean, like I took a break from it, but the last episode that I watched was when was when Domon fought the Dragon Gundam. That was the last.
Sick. Such a good show.
Yeah.
A little underrated as far as I'm concerned.
I will say it's outdated.
It's very.
But it's like
it makes me think of like if Dragon Ball Z was a Gundam series.
Yeah, of course.
Exactly.
Interesting.
All the tournament arc stuff, like they just put all the tournaments
like,
together with the Gundams, like
pretty sweet show.
What's crazy is when I was a kid, well, I was a teenager at this point, but when G Gundam was on, like I was so obsessed with the show. Like I used to give people burning fingers all the time. Like I would go up to if my brother pissed me off, like I would say Domon's quote, and then like I would grab his head, and then like I would just start squeezing it. And like once he started crying, then of course like I'd be like, well, I won the fight, and you know, it's just like you can't compete anymore. But my cousin, like he had a ginormous head when he was a baby. And I used to give him the burn. Well, he wasn't a baby, he was a kid, but I would give him the burning finger and he would just sit there and laugh. Like I would squeeze his head really hard and he would just be like, that doesn't hurt me. And I was just like, how can somebody defeat the burning finger?
My hand, it's burning red. Come on.
Yep.
Dude, I used to grab aluminum foil when I was a kid and wrap it around my hand to feel like I was a Gundam, and so I was trying to do the same type of thing to people. But it was also like the hand was kind of like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle hand when he did the burning hand.
It was like it locked into place or something like that.
Oh man, I would kill if I was a kid to have gotten a burning finger glove to like use it wherever I go. Man. That would have been a great toy.
Yeah, it would.
Toy I want it.
Man, I know there was a game on the PlayStation back in the day called Gundam Battle Assault 2. And man, they had the burning Gundam in that game.
Everybody on the game.
Bro, I used to love doing the burning finger, and he had one where it's just like he would grab the guy and then like he would do the burning finger. And I was just like, geez, man, this is just so awesome. Like I we love Gundam here. I could talk about Gundam for days.
Yeah, no kidding.
Man, I have a Death Scythe toy from when my mom gave it to me for Christmas when I was like 4. Still in my apartment here, and it's missing like both shoulder pads because I lost them as a kid, and like one of the antennas is broken off. So I'm like, oh, it's battle damage, and I've just
I like that. I like
how you do it.
Battle damage.
Hell yeah.
I've carried it up till now because it's just like this thing that stays in my heart, you know, like it stays with me. Like Gundam is always going to be a part of my childhood. Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, One Piece, JoJo.
As it should.
Pokemon for sure. Oh man, I was actually singing the Pokemon Masters theme song when I was driving on my way from Walmart today.
Which one is that? Like, some of the viewers might not know. What? How did that go, Kev?
Oh, it's the one that's like we all live in a Pokemon world.
Oh, yeah, that's a sweet one.
I wanna be the greatest master of them all.
Kevin, you wanna know what's funny? Like the other day, I was singing that song, and it's funny because one time Trav and D, we were waiting for our guests to join the lobby, and I played like a different Pokemon song for each of them, and they was just like, "Well, what are we doing? Like why are you playing Pokemon?" So I was just like, y'all not trying to jam out? Y'all not trying to listen to this? Like I like that song. And then I like the Pokemon Johto song.
Dude, yes.
Pokemon Johto, it's a brand new place. Like that song was sweet.
I have I think it's called the Pokemon X album that shows you like the first like 15 theme songs of Pokemon. And I memorized every single one growing up. And so every now and then, like maybe it's been like 4 months since I've heard this theme song. It just suddenly plays and I'm like,
it gets you hyped up, man. Especially what was the one for Pokemon 2000? Was it no, it wasn't the same one. Dang, I'm mad I can't remember it.
Do you remember the one that was like Pokemon mon?
No, I don't remember.
It's like the journey's just begun. Pokemon mon, more the better. Maybe that was just in the album.
I'm mad I can't remember the Pokemon 2000 song. Like that song, like remember because it's like Ash was Pikachu was fighting the mill tank, and at the start of the movie.
Wait a minute. I think I know what you're talking about. Wait a minute. From not Lugia's theme, right?
It was but it's the movie with Lugia in it, but I can't remember the song. I'm mad I'm having a brain fart. D, do you remember?
Was it the one that was like the I wanna be The very
Yes,
best
yes.
no one ever
No,
was,
it
ever
wasn't.
was, ever was.
I'm looking it up right now, and
Oh
I know
man,
like
it's gonna
I know
kill me now if I don't
Like
know
a
what it is.
remix of the original song?
Yeah, man, it's like one of the coolest remixes.
hold on, I'm looking.
Oh, I still remember even the one that's like a kid from Pallet Town with a brand new world to see.
That was a good one too.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Oh, it's so good.
Pokemon's not bad music-wise.
I'm pretty sure every now and then I put on lo-fi music when I'm in my room just to like focus and whatever. And every now and then I'll hear the Lugia's theme that's like, you know, but it's like lo-fi, so it's got like a cool like bass to it.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, this
Got
gets
some drums
so
in
hard.
there.
I know
So
somebody's
good.
gonna listen to this episode and gonna be like, "Yo, like, how do you not remember like the song?"
Because it was like
We're on
100
the
years ago,
spot.
you people.
Oh, so we're not the chosen one like Ash. So
Yeah, we're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I don't have
Right.
a hat that turns backwards.
But it was
Exactly.
another question that I was gonna bring up. Yeah, before we started the interview, you were talking about that you have a podcast. Like, tell the listeners about that.
Oh yes. So I'm a very big movie nerd, and my another fellow voice actor buddy of mine, his name's Raul Ceballos. He and I adore talking about movies together, and at one point we were like, hey, why don't we like make a monthly podcast where we just talk about the movie news of the past month? And that's what we've been doing. Today, as of today, what day is today? August 24th, we just posted our second episode of the movie reviews section, and we're doing a movie review on Thor: Love and Thunder.
Nice.
But yeah, like in the beginning of every month, we just talk about everything that happened in the past month. And that's why anytime anybody asks me something like, hey, like, what did you think of this actor from this movie? I'm like, oh, I have some thoughts. I have some opinions, because I'm like obsessively watching movies and TV shows because it's one of my favorite
Same.
things to do. And when you meet people who adore stuff like that as much as you do, like, oh man, that's how you know you found home.
Uh-huh.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So, since we're here and you had mentioned the podcast and what you guys do and talk about movies and stuff, like, how do you feel about the controversy right now surrounding the Wednesday show that's about to come out? It's like, when it was announced that Louis Guzman was going to be Gomez, like, I was excited because it's just like, I love Louis Guzman, and I feel like people were kind of on board, but then it's just like when they showed what he was going to look like, it's just like some people just changed up on him. I'm just like, well, I mean, like they're going with Gomez, how he looked in the comics, kind of like what they did with the animated film that came out and whatnot. And I just feel like some people are just being fat phobic because they want him to, they want Gomez to be handsome, like how he was in the 90s movies with, Raul Julia, rest in peace. And like, what are your thoughts and opinions on that?
Well, first things first, Luis Gomez is Puerto Rican. I don't know if anybody knew that, but he's very, very Puerto Rican. Also, I met him once at,
Nice.
I went to a Puerto Rican restaurant out here in the Valley, and he just so happened to be sitting there, and we like stared at each other, and eventually he was like, hello, like, hey, if you want to say hi, like, you can, hi. And I'm like, oh, I'm such a nerd. I'm sorry to bother you. Like, you're so cool. But now going back to your question, I think it's perfect casting. I think it's really good. I think if you ask me, the Addams family, they're supposed to be like these ugly, like creepy, creepy and they're spooky, mysteriously ooky, all those words. Like, it's okay. It's whoever is cast as Gomez, like, I think that's going to work. I think it'll be good. If anything, I don't know if you guys have already seen the trailer for it, but
Yeah, I did. I'm hyped.
Really cool.
Yeah.
And
I
it's on
don't think it's
Netflix.
bad. And it's being done by Tim Burton once again. You got to trust him. At this point, it's Tim Burton. Just trust him what he's doing.
Especially when you see that type of art style, or you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, it's such a Tim Burton vibe to it that you're like, okay, well, he knows what he's doing, and
Clearly.
the show looks good. I think when you see Wednesday dropping the piranhas in the pool, and you're like, oh, there's blood in this show. Oh, okay. That really sets the tone for what this is going to be like. So the creepier and more disgusting the characters can be, the better. So if we got a Gomez that looks like the way he does, I'm all for it. I think it makes it even funnier, in my opinion, especially with Catherine Zeta-Jones. My heart.
Mhm.
She was totally my first crush when I was younger because I used to watch Zorro.
I was about to say that.
Hey.
Zorro.
Every time. hasn't aged a bit, Catherine Zeta-Jones. But you know, the fact that she's gonna be in it too, like I'm like, yeah, let's do it, man. This looks so cool.
All right. Look, now we're here at the end. D, were you about to say something?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I mean, you're about to say something now
because
we're here at the end of the interview, and D, you have your final questions that you ask each and every guest. So go ahead and take it away.
All I was gonna say was Corico time. Pass me the ball.
Snap.
No, but first question: favorite '80s or '90s movie, or both if you have one of each.
I do actually.
Good.
So favorite movies from the '80s. You gotta understand, I'm a '90s kid, so like you know, '80s weren't always like there with me growing up, I guess. But I will say, you know, you gotta go with Star Wars Episode 5 and 6. Those are like definitive, like that makes your childhood.
Classics.
But also The Goonies. I really love The Goonies.
Another classic.
Yeah.
I could like not watch The Goonies for like 2 to 3 years, and then if somebody just wants to plop it in and just play it, I will sit through the entire thing all over again because it's such a beautiful moment. I've also had that kind of thing where it's like, you know what I mean when I say like, I wish I could relive this moment of watching this for the first time.
Yeah.
Like there's some movies where I'm like, I refuse to watch this for like a year or two because I don't want, I want to get that feeling back of like the first time I saw this.
Yeah.
But also movies from the 90s, favorite movie or Disney movie specifically also is Aladdin. Aladdin is
classic.
Like,
top 5.
Too good. Yeah,
that's
so
top
good.
5 right there.
Too good.
And then I have one more, which is The Prince of Egypt. You guys
Ooh,
Good
that's
one.
a class. I love
yeah.
that. Oh yeah.
Good pick.
Yeah.
I remember I saw Aladdin and I was like, this is my favorite Disney movie of all time. No one could ever top this type of animation. And then Prince of Egypt came out and I was like, wait, you can do more with animation? This is incredible. Just blew my mind. And also the song, the one that's like what is it? The one with the dad where he's singing to Moses and his love interest.
Oh yeah, when they were at the party. Yeah. Yeah. It's like as soon as you started saying the Prince of Egypt, like that song and the Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston song popped up in my head.
Oh, there can be miracles if you believe. I also believe that. So good. But and I think that's all I got for 80s and 90s movies. But I do love movies so much.
Okay, so second question. Growing up, was there anything that spooked you, scared you, and stayed with you? Whether it was a creepy lullaby, dolls, a myth, maybe a family story. What you got?
Have you guys ever heard of the Bakru?
Hell no. Tell us about him though.
All right.
Sounds like a nice guy.
If you guys can edit in some like creepy like music box music while I'm explaining this story.
Do it.
So, all right. Maybe I made this story up. Maybe I didn't. Who knows? We'll see. So, way back in the 1600s, when Puerto Rico was first being founded, the Spaniards were entering the island and trying to discover how they could map out everything and chart it all out on a map. There was this adventurer called Juan Pedro de Calderón who would journey through trying to discover new things in this island. And eventually he found a native that lived there who was like, you know, have you heard of the Bakru? And he's like, no, I haven't. Well, there's this old man who lives in the rainforest. And if you go deep in there, he's the only one who's seen one. And he's like in his 90s at this point. So you better get to him quick. So he's like, okay, I'll journey into the tropical rainforest. He goes in and he meets this guy. And the old man tells him like I'll tell you this story, but you have to promise me that you won't go looking for the Bakru. And he's like, yeah, of course, I won't. Fingers crossed, you know, no, I'll totally not do it. And so the old man tells him the Bakru is this humanoid creature. It looks like a little kid. Now the difference between this and regular kids is that this little kid has ripped up clothes, shredded up hair, almost balding, and it has yellow eyes, and it has the face of an old person. And it giggles everywhere it goes. And so, you know, if you can picture that, it's pretty creepy, all right? It's pretty spooky. And so this guy's like, okay, so how do you find it? How do you find this thing? And the man says, you promised you're not gonna go looking for it, right? And he's like, of course not. I'm just asking because I don't want to, run into it. And he says, well, here's the thing. If you say Bakru 3 times in a row, it'll show up when you least expect it. When you're alone, it'll be there in pairs of 2. And what happens to the Bakru, here's the creepiest part, is that the Bakru is this creature that it used to be a human that died and did so many bad things that it couldn't go down to the inferno of hell, and so it stayed on our earth. And so what it's trying to do is that it's stuck in this form until it finishes off its years of like imprisonment. But if it looks at another person in the eyes, when you die, you become the Bakru.
Oh.
And so the old man told him, don't go looking for it. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. And the man says, okay, you got it. I won't go looking for it. We never hear of this man again until 1992. There's some Puerto Rican men walking around Puerto Rico in the rainforest, and they just so happened to have found a notebook on the ground. And they grab this notebook, they open it up, and they read about this person called Juan Pedro de Calderón, and how he wrote about the Bakru, and how he was gonna go looking for it anyways. And at the end, all you see is like a scratched off, like he couldn't finish his sentence at the end of the page. And so that's what started the lore. And so if you go to Puerto Rico, I swear to God, this is a true story. There's a museum called El Museo de los Niños, which is the Museum of Children. And so if you go there, there's a secret room that you can go to where they have the journal of this man opened on the last page, where you can see the writing getting, unfinished.
That is such a good story.
So Kevin, like one of my friends, she lives in Puerto Rico, and it's a cosplayer.
Boy.
It's a cosplayer. You can check out her interview. It's Miss Tokoyami. It is up here on the YouTube channel. And I'm going to ask her, does she know about this? And she's probably going to be like, why are you asking me about this at 11 o'clock at night?
Hell yeah.
Now you want to hear something even creepier? This is just how my dad made it even scarier for me growing up. Was that my dad was like, the Bakru isn't only in Puerto Rico. It's everywhere. And there's other countries that have reported little children with old people faces in different parts of the world. And like you've heard about it in Sweden, you've heard about it in Germany, you've heard about it in Japan. Like it gets creepier and creepier. And if you Google Bakru, Bakru, you can find images of Bakrus that were like chicken scratched on paper, and they look really scary and creepy. They're little kids, but some people consider them to be woodland creatures as well. And it's this super super creepy thing. And so my dad told me when he was 16, his dad told him this story, and he was like, hey, like whatever you do, don't say Bakru 3 times. And my dad was like, all right, old man, whatever. He said it 3 times. And so one day he forgot he had to take out the trash, and he goes outside and he starts taking out the trash and whatever, and he hears giggling up the road. So he looks up and he sees these 2 little kids hanging out up the street. And there's 2 things wrong with this. One, it's like 11 o'clock at night. And 2, it's like thundering rain outside. So these 2 kids are just splashing and hanging out at 11 o'clock at night. They look like toddlers. And so my dad's like, hey, like, what are you guys doing over there? Hello? And the kids start to turn around, and as they're turning, he's starting to realize what's happening. And he turns as fast as he can and runs home, closes the door, locks the door. And he's like, oh man, I was this close to seeing the Bakru's eyes. That would have been terrible. So my dad told me that story. And I didn't say Bakru 3 times because I'm not about to get killed by a Bakru.
Yeah, I feel like it's like you've been telling the story and you've said it a lot of times, and I'm just like, oh man, so I'm gonna go to sleep and I'm gonna hear some kids laughing, and I'm like, huh, what's going on? Like it's 12 o'clock at night. Oh my God,
great story.
Yeah, it was a great story. I'm gonna add the spooky music, and
yes,
when Trav edits this, like he's gonna make sure that he adds it in as well. But Kevin, thank you so much for joining us, man. Like I said at the start of this interview, it was going to be a fun one. And you see your boy, I'm cheesing hard because you ended it with a spooky story. And it's just like, I'm scared now. And so
Dude, I spook myself whenever I tell that story.
Pretty good.
It was, man. So Kev, before we let you go, let everybody in social media land know where they can find you at and where they can find your podcast at.
You got it. Well, again, I'm Kevin Andrew Rivera. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, at Kevin A. Rivera VO. And you can check out my podcast on any podcast option, Spotify, Apple Podcast, you name it, we got it, at Real Geek News, which is spelled REEL. See what we did there? Yes. And we also have an Instagram account. If you look up Real Geek News on Instagram, we are there as well. If you want to geek out about movies with us, we'd be more than happy to have you join along.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Double and we'll be there.
Combo break.
Thank you.
Yeah,
this is a ton of fun.
Yeah,
hey,
man.
Kev, hey, look, that's what we love to have up here. We love to have a fun time. We love to have a good time. So thank you so much for joining us. D, let everybody in social media land know where they can find you at.
No problem. You can find me at rebellious_D23 at Instagram.com. And Banks, if they need a hero for the Bakaru, I think I said it right. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it again. So
don't say it two more times.
You know what I'm saying?
Don't say it 2 more times. Yeah. Just,
where can they find you, man?
Hey, you can find me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, at KingBenji_Banks on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me on Facebook at Benjamin Banks. I should be the first person to pop up. If not, then I need to contact Mr. Zuckerberg. Thank you all, everybody, for watching this interview. Please make sure that you follow Kevin on all of his social media accounts. Make sure you follow the podcast. Make sure you support him, and you're gonna see this man and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger roles. And I give you a pinky up for that, Kevin. And I give everybody pinkies up. Stay positive. Everybody put that pinky up. And we'll see you next time on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Peace.
Have fun, everybody.
Thank you for watching a brand new episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Make sure that you hit that like button and you subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell button so that way you're always notified when we have new content on our channel. Make sure you check out our podcast where we release new episodes every Tuesday and the video of that episode is uploaded on Friday. And you can find new episodes of our podcast on all podcast platforms. Make sure you follow all the Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks social media accounts at Leveling Up Banks on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also, we have a Patreon. If you're feeling generous and would love to donate to us, it's at Leveling Up Banks. And huge shout out to our patrons. We really appreciate you and thank you for the support. We'll see you next time on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks.